Welcome. We now present a paper entitled Cooperation in Solving the Problem of the Week in a Third Grade Class, from the authors Carolina Gonzalez, Luís Mestre, and Diogo Lamúria, who are part of a higher school of education in Lisbon, Portugal. We hope you enjoy and learn more about this topic. What exactly is cooperative learning? Cooperative learning, according to these authors, is a method in which small work groups are used, with the aim of enhancing the student's own learning as well as that of other colleagues, since there is constant sharing. It is also important to note the benefits of the cooperative learning and the self and hetero assessment in this process. Cooperative learning allows to obtain gains in relation to the teaching learning process itself, as well as prepare individuals for future situations in the work environment. Regarding the self and hetero assessment, the constant reflection on their own work and the work of their peers makes the student aware of what he is doing in order to be able to evolve. This gain in awareness in cooperative learning, assuming that the success of a student contributes to the success of all the members of the group, which he concludes by explaining that this mechanism of social facilitation becomes more effective the more conscious are the cooperating members of this structural rule that unites them. This study was carried out with 25 students from a third-year class of primary school with ages between 8 and 9 years old. In this class, it was observed the lack of awareness of what cooperation actually is, the doubts of how cooperation should work, and the insufficient communication between students in those moments. This research aims to highlight self and hetero assessment of cooperation skills included in the checklist as promoters of improved cooperation in solving of the Math Week's problem, and understand the students' representations of cooperation in general and in reference to solving the week's problem before and after intervention. A qualitative methodology was followed, taking into account the procedures close to the research action methodology, as data gathering techniques, survey by questionnaire, focus group interview, participant observation, and documentary research are privileged. For the data analysis, we resort to content analysis, following the assumptions of Bardhan. The research was held following three major moments according to the following design. In the first moment of pre-intervention, the steps taken were the application of a survey by questionnaire to the group of students, an initial focus group interview to return and disclose the questionnaire results, and agree on changes to the week's problem moments with a view to its improvement, and the conception of support instruments for the week problem moments, agreed and developed with the students. In the during intervention moment, the steps taken were the implementation of the negotiated amendments and the week problem support and regulation instruments built, and the registration of students' development. In the final moment of post-intervention, there was a final focus group interview and a semi-structured interview with a class teacher. We now show you the results from this study. Regarding the students' conceptions of cooperation, the comparison between the results of the initial questionnaires and the final questionnaires shows that initially the students were not aware of what cooperation is, while at the end of the investigation they showed other perceptions on the subject, managing to explain what cooperation is actually meant to be. It can be stated that the participants of this study showed a significant improvement on their views on cooperation, which in turn aided them in creating mechanisms to solve the problem more efficiently with their peers' cooperation. We now highlight the self and hetero assessment and the importance of the regulation instrument built, the individual checklist. Each student filled in the table based on the work done that week, always communicating with their partner, as can be seen in this photo. Considering the self and hetero assessment, it was quite important in regulating the objectives, since a grid was filled in every week and a reflective approach was taken on the sessions and on the way in which the students were cooperating. When comparing the 6 evaluation grids on cooperation, a positive development is highlighted in view of the intended objectives of cooperation. The results also point to the usefulness of the checklists and self and hetero assessment grids in promoting cooperation skills and, most importantly, in urging a reflexive process that made students actually think about what cooperation really is. it's possible to conclude that there was indeed an evolution regarding the student's conception about cooperative learning. Throughout this process, we can see that these misconceptions were corrected since the students in the final interviews already presented a more conscious discourse about cooperation. We also highlight the positive development on the part of the students with regard to cooperative learning since they improved the selected skills present in the checklists through the 5 essential elements of cooperation, which are positive interdependence, individual and group responsibility, nurturing interaction, and group assessment. This made it possible to gain awareness about one's own work as well as about the work of others, ideas mentioned in the final interviews, both with the students and the head teacher. These are the references used in this presentation. We thank you for your time, and if you want, you can check the original work and research on which this paper is based on the QR code or link below.